Hello, welcome to another episode of Should I Make My Family Watch, a podcast where I make my family and friends watch crappy horror and sci-fi movies so you don't have to. I'm your host, Desiree, and with me this week is author Ashley Fox. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Together, we're going to give you a detailed breakdown of the storyline of this piece of crap, and then we're going to rate it on the shit scale, which is 1, only a tiny bit shitty. You'd probably watch it again. 5 is the worst pile of crap in the history of craps. And then we'll go from there. Today's episode is about Zombeavers, which I didn't even know existed previously until you brought that. I was very excited that you pointed that one out because I felt like I missed a gem there. Had you seen it before we decided to watch this one?
No, I hadn't. And I was going to say, I don't know if I should say you're welcome there or not, because it was like, it was just one of those ones. No, I was actually just kind of searching on my phone for shitty horror movies. And that was one that popped up on the list. And that list that I sent you were a bunch that I had not seen yet. So
yes, I'm really glad we chose this one. I'm waffling on the score. I've gone back and forth in my brain and I haven't settled exactly what I think it's going to be, but we'll run through the plot really quick before we give our ratings here. Give me 2 seconds because I do need to reference the Wikipedia page. So it starts out. Hey, we're just going to do this. We're going to wing it. We're going to wing it. Okay. It starts out with an unnecessary scene of Bill Burr and John Mayer as, I don't know if you noticed that was him.
No.
In the very first cut scene, because he's wearing a ridiculous like mustache and crazy outfit, and they're supposed to be workers who are driving radioactive chemicals of some sort to wherever they need to go and telling really weird stories to each other. And it didn't really, for me, fit with the whole rest of the movie, aside from as just the point of how the beavers get, like, I don't know, radioactive or whatever it was.
Yeah, just how the sludge gets thrown into the water.
Yeah. And I felt like they must have spent all their money just trying to get John Mayer to do 2 5-minute scenes in there. It was very strange. But so they are the chemical people. They drop the barrel. It gets into the beaver pond. They're like, meh. I think they end up hitting a deer. And then it cuts over to the main movie, of which it's supposed to be like a girl's vacation for 3 friends. I got none of their names. And I know one of them is upset and clearly having like a thing with her boyfriend or something, because you cut to her in the bathroom crying. And then they're going to a remote cabin to get away.
But I think it's one of those, like, they're kind of just doing that teen trope thing. There's like, they're out in a cabin in the woods, a bunch of girls by themselves. And it's just like leading into just having them be out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I couldn't even figure out where they were supposed to be. I don't know if they ever said it.
Someone's family cabin, or I think it was a cousin's cabin or something like that. But
that sounds right. So the girls immediately decide to go to the lake and get naked. Only some of them. I'm not really sure why that's pertinent to the story, aside from its adding to the Zombeavers name. And then they run into some local who basically tells them they should be dressed and tries to scare them. He comes up later, but there's like the characters are very weak, except for I would say where they spent the most time is on the main ladies, I guess. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting. I'm like picking it apart like it was supposed to be like a Oscar-winning movie. Right. So let's see. They get to the lake, they get warned by the guy, they go back to their cabin, and then all the boyfriends show up.
Yeah.
I don't think I missed anything so far.
I don't think so. I think there was one, like a couple little funny things that I noticed in there, like at the very beginning. The first little boy who gets attacked by the beavers, like nobody knows about them yet. And he's wearing a hat that says #1 dad, and he's like a 12-year-old boy. And it's just
I didn't notice that.
When the girls first get to the water and they're sitting on the dock, the little hat floats by in the water behind them. So there's like little kind of just funny little clues around them that like people are kind of disappearing, but
I did not
nobody's
catch that
noticed yet.
scene. That's funny. I don't. Yeah, I guess I don't pay very much attention then. That's bad on me.
I'm like, I tried to the first time because I was like, I want to kind of have an idea of what I'm, but I watched it like quite a while ago now, so I'm like trying to trying to go back.
That was the problem. I feel bad, and I apologize for the rescheduling.
No.
Normally, it's so much fresher in the brains, and I was like, oh, I'll totally have time to rewatch it again, and then I didn't. So we're let's see. Boyfriends come over, and you find out the issue between the main character, and I wish I remembered her name, the blonde girl, and her not boyfriend anymore, is that she got sent a picture of him kissing another girl.
Yeah.
So she's very upset all the time. Fine. And this is where it gets hazy for me, because I know that the beavers start attacking pretty quickly, but I can't remember how they like first see these things.
So the very first time they see one, the blonde girl, the main character, is going to get in the shower, and there's just one like in the bathtub. And so she pulls the curtain back, and he's just like right there jumping out at her.
Yeah, I wonder how it got in the bathtub. Yeah, that's right. And then they try to kill it, and it like won't die. And so then I think they like almost get it in half, and then they put it in a garbage bag and just stick it on the porch.
Yeah, they had one like on the counter, kind of almost in half, and they're like trying to stab it, and like nothing's happening. It's still staying alive on the counter, but
I don't know why they decided to just leave it on the porch, like they weren't in the middle of woods, and like something bigger is, or I don't know. Right. That just seems like an invitation for more problems. But I guess that leads to the next scene where they come out and they see that the bag has been ripped open and they're gone. And then they go out to the lake to swim. And I'm pretty sure at least one of them gets bitten by a beaver in the water.
Yeah. So I think two of them get bitten in the water, if I remember correctly. Right. But one of them, I think, like loses his foot, and so they're like trying to get him out to safety. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's, yeah, the pairings that they decided on for the cast of this movie was very strange to me. Like who they decided was the boy. It didn't match in my brain, because you have the blonde main girl and a guy that's just like super sleazy and not very charming. And then you have the best friend and her very Chad-esque boyfriend. And then the slutty girl, who was my favorite character because she was a total bitch, but at least she was like the most real, normal, like this character maintained what she was supposed to be doing throughout the whole movie, I thought. Yeah. And then she has the stupidest boyfriend like ever. It made zero sense to me. And he wasn't even attractive, so it wasn't like I did not understand that. And I don't think, I mean, he had to be somebody's friend. That's why he was in that movie, I think. But you're right. He lost a foot. Yeah. And then they're trying to get him out of the water, but I think one of the girls got bit too. It might have been the blonde girl.
The blonde girl does. I can't remember if it's in the lake she gets bit or not, but she definitely gets bit, because she's one that later on we see do the whole transformation. It almost reminds me of an old werewolf movie where like the teeth are coming out and the nails are popping off, and she's like, yeah.
I thought that scene was actually pretty cool. I have to say, when I went into this, I don't know why I wasn't expecting the zombie part of the beavers. Like I expected beavers as, undead things, but I wasn't expecting it to translate over to people. And so that was very surprising for me, but it shouldn't have been because it's in the title.
No, but I kind of felt the same, where I'm like, when they get bit, are they just going to turn into zombies because they're already people? Like, it, yeah, because the beavers just died and came back. So it's like, you don't know what's really going to happen to the people yet, but yeah, I thought that was a really cool scene too. It just, like I say, reminded me of like an old school werewolf movie where it's like you get to see that
American Werewolf in London, how that cut scene with him. Yep, that's exactly what it reminded me of. So I thought that was at least ambitious. I feel like this is the same people who made Sharknado, but I'm not 100% sure.
I didn't look it up, but that was one of the reasons why I was glad we picked this movie, because I love those cheesy, like the creature ones, the Sharknado, the Lavalantula, all those kind of ones. So this kind of fell into that same loop.
So they get him back to the house. He doesn't have a foot. They're putting the foot on ice, and then they're trying to call for help, but they realize the beavers have eaten the phone cord, right?
Yeah.
I think that sounds right. Let's see. They ate the phone cord, and then they're just kind of battling beavers in the cabin. Okay, calm down. And I'm trying to figure out when. I don't think I'm missing too much in there before the first person sort of turns into a Zombeaver person, right?
Yeah. And there
Hey.
was they try to go to the neighbor's house for help too, and then they figured out that they've chewed through those cords as well, the phone cords in the neighbor's house. And I think one of the funniest bits when they go over there too is there's the guy sitting there petting his dog. And then the next time you go back, he's sitting there petting the beaver, and he doesn't realize that the dog is gone and the beaver is there instead. So he's just like,
I don't think I caught that.
thinking he's petting his golden retriever, and there's like a beaver sitting beside his chair. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to rewatch it for all the mini scenes. I feel like I missed the parts that were funny in that. So, and I know that the neighbors get killed at some point, because there's a cut scene of the old woman in bed, and they're like, "Oh, she's fine, just close the door." And then later she comes back and tries to eat them.
Yeah.
And you're fine, Mom. I'm not 100% how we get from the neighbors to them physically trying to leave in their cars and like accusing each other of being bitten.
Well, because it's kind of like the hunter guy from the very beginning comes back too, but it's not really clear even why he's back there, because he's just like this random guy.
You don't know what he does.
And he just kind of shows up with his truck and is like, let's get everybody out of here. But yeah.
So we're just going to say, I want to say at least most of them, the final people in the car would be the hunter, the slutty girl, and the best friend. Because the blonde girl, I think, dies, even though you think she's the main character, because she gets eaten and then starts eating other people.
Yeah, so the blonde girl tries to attack people. So I think at the end, it is the dark-haired, the best friend. That was your favorite character. The hunter gets eaten by the guy, the boyfriend with the funny hat. The one who loses his foot. That was like, and that was another kind of scene where I was like, oh, just like lifts him straight up off the ground and is like holding him upside down in just like the most ridiculous way.
That the more I explain it to myself out loud, I feel like it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I would say if you could just watch this movie for just the beavers, like somebody's home art project was made famous in this. I feel like somebody had some old dirty beavers they got passed down from Grandpa's cabin and decided to like put glowing eyes on them, and I just thought they were so magical. Probably my favorite part of the whole movie.
It's just like low budget horror at its finest. Like you said, it probably was just some like taxidermy projects that they're like, how funny would it be if we made an army of these? And when they open up the door and there's all the glowing eyes out in the dark.
What? I'm busy. Can you be quiet, please? Okay. So, let's see. I don't think do they all live? No, all of them die.
Almost. Almost, because that's where we circle back to that van coming around where it looks like the last girl's gonna live. Yeah.
And then she gets hit by the van, right? With John Mayer and Bill Burr.
Yeah. That's like, do you see that girl? Yep. Okay, I trust you. And
So what would you rate this movie?
I don't know. I've been same as you. I've been kind of going back and forth because it's definitely not the shittiest movie I've ever seen, but it's absolutely not the best one I've ever seen either. But as far as like my love for the creature feature, I love the cheesy movies. I'm gonna give it probably a solid 3.5. I did go back and watch it a second time, so I'm like, it's one of those that I'm like, if someone's looking for something not too scary but fun, like it's like a scary movie type spoofy thing that I just think is so funny. So I'm gonna put it kind of in that range.
3.
Yeah.
I gave it a 2. At first, I thought a 1 because I was like, oh, I might rewatch this again just for funsies. But, man, sorry about that. I'm going to have to cut out a few scenes here. I have an impatient husky in the background.
I left my dog. He wouldn't do the same thing.
If I have a Great Dane also, so if I put them out, he just stands up on the door frame like a big monster and like, and it's even louder. Hey, come here really quick. Okay. 2 out of 5 because I like if I had to watch it again for somebody who had never seen it and needed to see it, I would watch it. But I don't know that it is. No, actually, I think it's the only Zombeaver movie ever made. It's pretty unique and it's yeah. It's that's a weird. I give it extra points for uniqueness because I would have never considered Zombeaver, and you'll never look at beavers the same way. No. So I appreciated that one. Are you ready for some questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, what is your favorite shitty movie?
My favorite shitty movie.
Doesn't have to be number 1, just the first one you think of.
Well, like I say, I love the Sharknado ones. Those are always like, I think those are kind of the ones that got me into watching shitty movies in the first place.
Yeah.
When they just like when they were coming straight onto TV and you'd like be watching AMC or whatever and like a trailer would pop up.
Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, those are kind of what got me into watching those cheesy kind of animal ones.
Mm-hmm.
They're so funny now. But yeah, those are probably those ones. And there's like, even though I'm deathly afraid of spiders, like the Lavalantula and those like those ridiculous.
I don't know if I've seen that one. I've seen the winter, whatever the ice tornado one they just put out not that long ago.
No one.
It was, I don't know how they could make a tornado almost like a sentient, stupid being, but they did. What is it about like the Sharknado movies that you love so much? Just because you like creature movies and they're kind of campy and stupid, or
the campiness more than anything? Because honestly, like when it comes to like serious horror movies that I'm gonna watch, I'm not a huge fan of the creature ones. I think it's like growing up, I used to love like Scary Movie and those like spoofy, cheesy, those kinds of things, and those kind of give me the same kind of feeling. They remind me of like being a kid and watching those like goofy ones that are kind of making fun of themselves, and so it's more for the laughs than it is for the scariness of it all, because obviously they're not the most terrifying ones you've ever seen.
Yeah, not super scary. Yeah. Are there any creature movies that you do think are scary or that you really enjoy that aren't funny?
I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched any. I like same thing, the old ones like the American Werewolf in Paris, like those as a kid. I did like those ones, and then I kind of started getting more into slashers and those kinds of movies after that, but they were kind of my starting off point, I guess. So it's kind of fun to go something like that as an adult, have it making fun of itself too.
Have you seen the new Nicolas Cage creature one? I think it's called Arcadia.
No.
Or something similar. I need someone. We're going to have to do one on that one because I cannot figure out what the creature is, like a werewolf, horsefly, lobster, scorpion. I don't even have words to describe what it was. And it wasn't a bad movie, but I was just like so confused at the end of it. And I feel like nobody has heard of it, but I think it was supposed to be a creature movie.
Okay. No, I haven't heard of that one either. I'm gonna have to track it down.
I'm gonna find that one. I'll send it to you because since you like creature movies, not a lot of people like that genre. It is hard to find a good scary one. And I think the most recent one I've watched besides Jaws was had Anthony Hopkins and they were werewolves. And now I don't remember the name of it. It might just be The Werewolf. Some Anthony Hopkins werewolf movie was not very good. It was the most recent one I can think of coming out, but Sorry, moving on. What's the worst movie you've ever seen? Your least favorite movie. Doesn't have to be horror.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I've watched some really bad ones, I'm sure. The thing is, I don't really remember the bad ones as much because I'm like, if I'm sitting there watching it, I'm the kind of person who will just be like, nope, this isn't for me, and I'll shut it off and I'll go and find something else. I just sit there and suffer through the next 2 hours of something that
That's
I'm not.
smart.
I don't fully ever really watch terrible movies unless it's something like this where I'm purposely putting myself through it. I'll generally just kind of turn them off and be like, yeah, that's not for me.
I'm not gonna waste my time on that. That's smart. I can
But
see. I can see the appeal.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's fair. What is your favorite horror genre? I know it sounds like for movies you like the crappy creature features, but what about for books? What do you like to read?
I like to read everything. And like for movies, I do love slashers as well. They've got a special kind of, that was like my first kind of scary movies as a kid, was like sneaking watching the Halloween and that kind of stuff.
Yep. Halloween.
For books, I read everything. I right now do a lot of like extreme horror and splatterpunk kind of books. But I've got everything from biographies to Harry Potter to horror to like a little bit of everything. So I'm like, I'll just kind of go on. I generally kind of go on a little bit of a kick where I'm like, what I'm reading right now is like biographies, and I'll read a whole pile of them, and then I'm like, okay, I need to find something else, and then I'll just kind of get into a genre where I read a whole bunch of them all at once, and then kind of move along from it and circle back later on. But I've got a bit of everything.
Yeah, I can understand that. I get on kicks where I like. It happens a lot after I read anything by Brahm, because his is very like, I don't know if you've read any of his stuff. It's like a dark horror fantasy almost. And so afterwards, I always like really want something with in-depth storytelling, which is kind of hard to find in some horror books, depending on what you're looking for, like very vivid scenes being painted. But do you prefer books, movies, audiobooks? What's your favorite way to get horror?
I love movies. I think that is like, it takes a lot for me to have a book have the same feeling as a movie. Like someone has to be really, really good at that descriptive kind of writing for it to give you the same feeling. So when you find a good horror book, it is like, hold on to that one, because it's so much easier to portray it on the screen than it is in a movie. I don't really listen to audiobooks at all. I'm not a Kindle person. I would much rather just have the hard copy of the book. So if there's a book out there that actually scares me, I'm like, hang on to that one for sure.
Do you have any that you like? Like, what's your favorite? Couple favorites.
A couple favorites. Oh my gosh.
I should have given these beforehand. I always feel like I'm cheating when I'm like, I have all the questions here.
I'm like, I don't know. That's a good question, because there's like, I've got so many. I do love a good mystery too. So like Kathy Reichs, who does the Bones books, I love those ones. There's like,
I didn't know those were books.
Yeah, there's a whole big series of them. So that's where the TV show came from. So she's actually the forensic, like, so she writes about her own stories.
That's cool.
And then I read one a little while ago. I think it was called Asylum Confessions. It's a whole series as well, where I've only gotten the first one, but there's a whole bunch of those ones. And like, I'm going to have to peek at the bookshelf, but it's like, yeah, I could just look through the shelves and go on and on. I've got millions and millions of them, but I do love the true crime ones. I think are probably the ones that scare me the most, because I'm like, so it's not necessarily at that point about like even how well the story's told, which they generally are anyways, but it is because those things have actually happened in real life that it's like, that makes them the scariest, I think.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think though, I can't remember the last true crime book I read. It might have been the one Jack Ketchum wrote. Is that the Girl Next Door? Yeah, and I think I read that probably like 10 years ago, but that was pretty vivid. And I don't even think you'd classify that just as true crime. It's almost like splatterpunk and true crime.
Yeah. Well, then that one's been made a movie as well. So that was right. Yeah. Yeah,
I had
that was
not
one of
seen that.
those. Yeah.
Little intense. I don't mind slashers. I've changed my stance on this 50 million times because at first I didn't like slashers, and then I did. I liked the old ones, and then I tried to watch the first Terrifier, and I didn't like it. And then I tried to watch it again, and I did like it. And then I watched, I think it was called In a Quiet Place or In a Violent Place, whatever that new one that just
Oh,
came
there's
out.
In a Violent Nature.
That one, thank you. I knew
Yeah,
I had it. Every
I
time I
just
try to
watched
say
that
the
one
name of
too.
that movie. I loved that movie. I thought
Mhm.
that was so well done because like I was like doing this the whole movie, like grip, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
very tense. And it's just this huge buildup of tension. And that's what I think is missing from a lot of the slasher movies that come out now. Like I enjoy that kind of slasher. So I guess I'm just hoity-toity about it, but so um let's see. What would you like to see more of in horror? Like what kind of topics? What do you think is like an
Um,
untapped market?
I don't know. I think there's been a few good ones this year that I'm like they. If I had the ideas, I'd put them out myself and
Mm,
make all the movies and make all the money. But I think it's about kind of taking some of the things we've already seen and putting a new spin on it and making it their own because it's hard now. Like there's millions and millions of movies. It's hard unless you're going to come out with something about zombie beavers to have something that is completely original that like no
right.
one's ever really done anything before. So I think it's kind of even about taking those things that are like, oh, that's such a cliche horror thing and just flipping it on its head and making it new again.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I agree with that. Do you think there's anything that's kind of underrepresented in horror? Like I used to say, obviously, women as the heroes were underrepresented, but I think that's kind of been shifted a little bit now. But
I was going to say,
I
I
think
think
it's
that's kind of taken a bit of a turn to where now it's almost like you almost expect there to be a final girl because that's
Mhm.
been like, it did kind of take that twist to where that's kind of the expectation now, which is kind of going back to our movie, why I thought the ending was so funny because you're like, oh yeah, there's the final girl walking
Mhm.
down the road, she's getting out of there, and then they knock her out with the van. So it's like they kind of took that and flipped it around on you a little. Um, I don't know if there's really anything off the top of my head that's underrepresented in horror. I think, like I say, I think there's been a few really good movies coming out this year, so it's a good time to be looking out for those new ones right now, I think.
Oh, there's so many I wanna see. I have 'em on my list, but my husband doesn't like horror as much as I do, so I really gotta pitch, like, the good ones. Like, I wanna see
Right.
that new VHS, looks really good. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
watched any of those ones.
I haven't, but I've heard good things about them, so those are on my list as well.
The new one, everybody says is, like, super crazy trippy, so I'm interested to see where they take that one, or Long Legs is the other one that's on my list I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet either. I watched Oddity a little while ago,
Oh, that one
and
looked good.
that one was really good. I'm not a person who usually gets like jump scared, and that one got me a few times. It was
Oh.
like, yeah, that one it was good.
Ah, it's going on my list then. That was one that I kinda eyeballed, like, it's almost like a mystery. I enjoy when they can kinda marry the mystery with horror and that I like
Yeah.
blending of genres. Genre sandwiches. What do you have out? I know you've got one book out, I wanna say it's Heebie-Jeebies, is that right?
Yeah, so that one is a short story collection. Um,
Mhm.
and I have one out that was actually previous to Heebie Jeebies that's called Little Glass Jars. So
Oh.
it's like a psychological thriller, like a murder mystery type one. So
Oh.
that was my first one out. That was, I believe, last July, last summer, sometime last
Oh,
June, July,
summer
something
stole
like
my
that.
pen. That sounds right up my alley, I'll check that one out.
Yeah, so I've got that one, and then Heebie-Jeebies, and then I've got short stories in a couple collections. One of which actually just came out
Today,
yesterday.
right?
Today,
Oh, yesterday.
they're just trying to get They were just figuring out the ebook and the paperback and everything, so it was like partially out yesterday and partially out
Oh,
today.
okay.
So that one's Carnage Candy, and then I've got a story in Modern Grotesque as well, which is a lot of the same group from Modern Grotesque to Carnage Candy.
Okay, so what's Carnage Candy about?
So
Like,
this
what's the
one
theme?
is the theme is just candy.
Oh,
So we're kind of
okay.
trying to, yeah, like didn't want to do like a full straight up Halloween one in case it wasn't out by Halloween. So the idea was just to kind of make everything around a candy theme. So mine
Hmm,
is actually set during Halloween, but not all of them are. So I'm actually just waiting on copies to get here tomorrow. But
that's fun.
yeah,
And then the other one you said Modern Grotesque was the name of the
yes,
anthology.
yes, yeah,
And what's that one about?
that was the first anthology I was ever invited to be in. That one didn't really have a theme.
Invited.
Yeah.
That's
um,
exciting.
it was very exciting. And I was very nervous because like, I don't know if I can like keep up with all the people that are in this group because they're all incredible authors. But that one didn't really have a theme. It was just like everyone just put in something, a piece that you really like. And we luckily have a good group of people that our stories, I think, kind of mesh well together, that you can kind of read through them and you can see everybody's different styles, but it's not like so crazy that you're jumping all over the
Mm.
place too much. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen the cover for that one. I always love seeing all the covers everybody puts out. There's some really magical artwork in there. Oh, that would be my child. Sorry about that.
No, that's all good.
My phone refuses to be silent. Where can people find your stuff? I know you'll have obviously the Unveiling Nightmares website, I think has
Yes.
author information. I'm gonna guess Amazon
Yep.
for the rest of them.
Everything is on Amazon. Obviously, like you said, Unveiling Nightmares has got my author info on there and heebie jeebies, and then everything else is on Amazon, Kindle Unlimited. I think we've actually moved heebie jeebies from Godless back to Kindle Unlimited, but you might still be able to find it on Godless as well.
Okay. And then are you on social media for people to follow, people who partake in social media?
I am. I have an author Instagram that's just Ashley Fox Author. And other than that, I'm just like on my personal page on Facebook and TikTok and that kind of stuff. But I do post a lot more of my writing stuff on Instagram than anywhere else, just so people can kind of see what's coming up and what I'm working on and all that kind of stuff.
I'll make sure I link that at the in
Perfect.
the show notes. And then my final question for you is what are you currently reading and or watching that is not a piece of crap?
um, well, currently reading, I have always got a stack of books like a mile high. So I've just picked up a couple that I haven't started quite yet, but I love it when they do blind date with a book. So then it's
Oh
just like
yeah.
wrapped up in paper and you kind of get the
Mhm.
outside a quick little note on what's inside. So I haven't started those ones yet, but I just picked up one called Ghost Camera. Um,
Oh, is that who just put that out? Someone on Facebook, right?
I don't know. I was just gonna say I don't remember the author's name. It's sitting on the top of my stack upstairs. But I'm just in like the first two chapters of it, and I'm really liking that one. And then as for what I'm watching, I've been watching From on Amazon
Ooh, is
Prime.
that good?
It is so good. I there now, of course, I'm to the point where I'm all caught up, so I have to wait for the once a week episodes.
Mhm.
The first two seasons I binged in like so short of a time I don't even want to tell you. But right from the beginning, I was like, that's it, I'm hooked. Like it is it's one of those shows where like when The Walking Dead first started, as soon as I watched the first episode, I was like, yes,
Mhm.
this is the kind of horror I'm looking for. And From kind of gives me those same feelings where right away the first episode I was like, I just need to keep watching and watching everything that is available on this one. So that one's been
Mhm.
really good. So now of course I have to wait until next Sunday for a new episode. But
Yeah, I hate when you catch up and then I hate
yeah.
being patient. That's why I normally wait until something is completely out before I hop on then I can't figure out what people are talking about though, so I feel like I'm kind of missing out. But okay, well, I appreciate you coming on the show and picking out the glorious Zombeavers. I feel like we're gonna have to pick one of the Sharknadoes for next time. I have only seen the first one, but I know they get more and more heads as they go.
Yeah. So it's been a long time since I've watched them all, but they're like, yeah, there's quite a few now.
double, triple, quadruple headed Sharknadoes.
Yeah.
So, everyone else, I would love to hear your thoughts on this week's episode. Piece of shit. So please let us know on the comments on the video, or you can email me, or you can drop it on Instagram. And then if you have any recommendations for other movies, please feel free to email us at simmfwpodcast@gmail.com, or find us on Instagram at the same name. And please go out and watch shitty movies so we can talk about them together. And thank you, Ashley, for being my guest this week.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.